you know? Did you know? Did you know?
Peace and love, family, and welcome to Module 1. Today we are going to cover who the ancestors are and what ancestral veneration really is. Like, why should we acknowledge our ancestors and how do they actually impact our lives? So ancestral veneration is really just acknowledging and honoring the ancestors, okay? It's not a religion. You're not worshiping the ancestors. It's really just acknowledging the fact that the dead can influence our everyday lives. We acknowledge our ancestors, on a universal level. There is Memorial Day in the States where we honor soldiers. There's the Day of the Dead. There's Samhain, which they call Halloween now. Even going to a loved one's grave, after they've passed is a way of honoring the dead. There's been a lot of talks of, ensuring that sacred burial sites there's no construction being built over it. And if there is, it raises a lot of upheaval. There's just a lot of things that we do on a day-to-day basis to honor our ancestors and don't even really realize it. But this program is all about purposely honoring your ancestors and acknowledging, their presence in your life and how they could really help you. Let me set the tone by saying this. You are your ancestors, okay? I don't want you to think of the ancestors as something necessarily outside of yourself, because you are a culmination of your lineage, okay? What happens is that when we die, consciousness actually still exists. So your level of awareness still exists. And cases of this have been proven, scientific fact, with near-death experiences. People dying, literally flatlining, and still able to tell you what went on with them on the hospital bed, what was going on in the hospital when they return, come back to life. So consciousness exists through time and space. And the energy of our ancestors, their genes, their consciousness is buried in our bones, in our DNA, which is why I created that guided meditation of DNA activation. So I don't know if you've ever heard of the law of oneness. So the law of oneness states that we are all one, okay? Anything that I do, anything that I say, anything that I think will affect those around me. And you could see this play out in, if they had a prayer for world peace and, hundreds and thousands of people from different countries came together and prayed for world peace. And then all of a sudden you find in another country where they didn't even pray that the rebels and, the government were going to sign a peace treaty, or, the murder rate went down, or whatever that is. That's because consciousness exists past time and space, and we're actually able to affect each other with our thoughts and our feelings, okay? So the ancestors are disembodied. We are bodied, so we have, we're here on this earth. Our ancestors are here with us, but because they're disembodied, they actually vibrate at a different rate, okay? And the string theory actually talks about that. The string theory states that there is multi-dimensions that are within the same space as we reside, but because they vibrate at a different rate, we are actually unable to perceive it. So our ancestors are here with us, but because they vibrate differently, we're not actually able to see them with our naked eye. But that doesn't mean that they can't have an influence on our everyday lives. I've been working with my ancestors for about 8 years now, and I can tell you from experience, inviting the ancestors into my life and taking on the responsibility of venerating my ancestors has reaped tremendous benefits. Okay. So my financial situation has gotten better. Things have just happened so much more smoothly in my life. I feel guided, so I make less mistakes when I'm navigating through important decisions and, things that I have to do in my life that can impact me greatly. Ancestors, they guide you, they protect you. The beautiful thing about the ancestors too is that working with them will actually help you heal your bloodline. So as I was mentioning before, that we are our ancestors, we are a culmination of them. So the same DNA and genes that are in them are the same DNA and genes that are in us. And remember, I said that consciousness exists beyond time and space. It exists even after we pass. Consciousness is actually within our DNA. So I don't know if you've ever noticed, if you have a child, or even a niece or nephew, you may see that that child acts just like your grandparents, or, your nephew looks just like your auntie back home, or your third cousin or something like that. You may notice that you have a great grand uncle that was an alcoholic or a drug addict, and now you have a child that is going through the same thing, suffering from addiction or alcoholism. This is because that within our DNA, we not only carry physical traits, but we also carry behavioral patterns that come down from generation to generation. So working with your ancestors to heal your bloodline is amazing, because you're not only healing yourself and working through your own shadows, you're actually changing and rearranging your DNA, and in doing that, again, because consciousness exists beyond time and space, you are affecting your children. You're altering their DNA. You're altering the DNA of your bloodline that's already in the ancestral realms. And you're altering the DNA of the offspring that is yet to come when you become an ancestor. So working with your elevated and ascended ancestors to heal generational curses, negative patterns, things of that nature can reap like tremendous benefits, not only for you, but for generations to come. So I want to share with you a little story, super quick, about how that actually changed my life. So I was sitting at my ancestral altar and I was doing a ritual for ancestral healing, and just talking to my ascended ancestors, about bringing more healing into my life and into my bloodline, and just releasing, in my lineage, we suffer from a lot of mental illness, alcoholism, abuse, many things. And I'm sure you, within your family, there's a lot of things that go on as well. So these are the things that I was addressing. And my dad called me while I was at my altar. And I don't usually allow myself to be disturbed when I'm doing my ritual work, but Spirit told me to pick up that phone. And I was speaking to my dad, and we spoke for about 45 minutes. And I cannot sit here right now and tell you what I said, because within those 45 minutes, the ancestors came and they spoke through me to speak to my dad. And at the end of that conversation, my dad actually said to me, "Thank you, Trisha. Thank you. I've never looked at it that way. I've never seen it like that before. That changes a lot." And I felt in my heart that something shifted for him. Something shifted for him, and a weight almost lifted off of his shoulders because of this newfound wisdom and this new perspective that he gained from speaking to me. And again, I was just the vessel. My ancient ancestors, we all have ancient ancestors that were healers, that were shamans, that were sages, in our lineage. These were the ancestors that I was connecting with to heal my bloodline, and they spoke through me to speak to my dad. And within that same week, my dad actually made amends with one of his brothers, someone that he hasn't spoken to in years, someone that I thought he was going to take that grudge to the grave, okay? They actually spoke, and he made amends, and things got better. And my ritual wasn't even fully complete. But that just shows you that the sincerity and the intention that you make to heal your bloodline, to actually make things better, to mend negative patterns, can have a profound effect and alleviate so much pain that you may be experiencing and other people in your lineage. The ancestors, when you think of the ancestors, it shouldn't just be those that you feel you can remember that have passed. Remember that we have ancestors that may have lived before this earth was even formed. A lot of us are not earth babies. A lot of us are star seeds. A lot of us come from different planets. A lot of us are avatars and things of that nature. So we have ancestors. Some of us could be Atlantean. Some of us could be Lemurian. Some of us could have Anunnaki roots. Some of us, again, could be star seeds coming from different planets. Whatever that may be, all of us have elders. All of us have ancestors that have elevated to that point of love and wisdom, where they're able now to be in a position where they can exert that same love, wisdom, guidance, and protection in your life, because again, they're elevated. So it's almost like having, a community elder in the village that everybody goes to, to solve their problems if they have any disputes, or goes for guidance and help. It's the same thing in the astral world. We all have elevated ancestors or elders within our lineage. It doesn't matter how messed up your family is that you can remember right now. We all have elevated ancestors, and in this program, these are the ancestors that we are going to work with. So unfortunately, there are people in our family that have passed that haven't reached that stage of ancestry. They're actually earthbound and they're troubled spirits. A lot of people call them ghosts because when they pass, they actually stay here. This is because sometimes when people die, if it's a tragic accident, they were murdered, they died suddenly, sometimes they're still angry, and they don't want to leave until they can get revenge, or they don't want to leave because they don't feel like it was their time. If you die suddenly, sometimes you don't even realize that you are dead. Sometimes you die and your mother, and you didn't leave anything for your children, so you feel so obligated to stay that you stay earthbound so you can be with that loved one, so you could be with your children. And these spirits don't ascend, okay? They're not elevated. They can't help us. So we are going to ensure that we are just reaching out to the elevated ancestors that are filled with love and wisdom and guidance and protection that can really make a profound difference in our lives, and help us as well as our lineage. Because remember, this is nothing new. Ancestral veneration has been going on since the days of antiquity. It's still going on in China. It's still going on in Africa. It's still going on in South America, in India. People see and know, even sometimes in everyday conversation, you may say, oh, the ancestors got my back. And you don't know why you're saying it, but you're saying it. That's because the ancestors really do have your back. They are your spirit team. If there's anyone that would never betray you, if there's anyone that wants to see you win, it's your ancestors, okay? So inviting them into your life and allowing them to help you on a day-to-day basis is like literally getting the most loyal, ride or die crew, that has your back day in, day out, that you could talk to anytime, you know what I mean? That will guide you, that could be your ears and your eyes, that has a bird's eye view of what's going on in your life, past, present, and future, that you can come to for divine guidance, and that will surely help you. Again, the ancestors have helped me tremendously, especially when it comes on to healing, past pain and trauma and things that I've been through in my life. They've helped bring the right people into my life, the right situations, got me out of some real dire situations that I put myself in, all because I was willing and sincere about my journey to healing and my commitment to make things better with not only myself, but my whole bloodline. So that is it for video 1. I just wanted to give you all a basic understanding of who the ancestors are, why we are going to begin venerating them in this way, how they can help us. And going through this whole program, do not forget when we're doing all this work that you are just activating the DNA that is within you, which is your ancestors. You are your ancestors. All of that wisdom and guidance that you are seeking is already in you. So in this program, we are just going to learn how to tap into that in a more meaningful way so it can affect our lives positively. Peace and love, family, and I will see you in the next video.
Did you know? Did you know? Did you know?